In the vast universe, some beings are born to follow the laws of existence, and others are destined to break them. Frieza, once a mere tyrant, has surpassed all limits, achieving a power so immense that it challenges even the gods themselves. The universe now trembles as one god is forced to face this new force, Beerus, the god of destruction. What happens when a mortal's ambition threatens the balance of the cosmos? This is the battle for survival, the divine challenge between Black Freeza and Beerus. After his defeat at the hands of Goku and his allies, Frieza retreated to a remote corner of the universe. Abandoned and humiliated, his only obsession was to grow in power, to transcend his limits once and for all. Determined never to be defeated again, he began an unrelenting training regimen on a desolate, lifeless planet where he could fully focus on his evolution. For months, Frieza dedicated himself to improving his physical strength and mastering his ki. He explored unknown techniques, delving into ancient knowledge that promised to push his boundaries. As time passed, Frieza could feel his body and energy changing. The transformation was gradual but profound. He became more than just a warrior. Frieza reached a new form known as Black Freeza. His appearance was completely altered. His once golden skin turned into a deep, intense black, and his eyes gleamed with a pure white light, reflecting the vastness of his newfound power. Black Freeza was no longer just stronger. He had surpassed the limits that once held him back. He had become a force so overwhelming that even the gods began to feel the presence of this new threat. In his new form, Frieza was no longer the same tyrant as before. He easily surpassed the transformations he once thought to be the pinnacle of strength, such as Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego. As Black Freeza, he became a threat that challenged even the gods of destruction themselves. His power was on a level so high that it seemed limitless. With this power, Frieza no longer sought just revenge. He wanted to rewrite the laws of the universe, to prove that no being, no matter how powerful, could rival him. His strength transcended the concepts he had once learned, and little by little, he realized that he could challenge even those once thought invincible. But Frieza knew that even with his new power, he needed more. He had already surpassed Goku and Vegeta's Super Saiyan forms, but that wasn't enough. He was still driven by an insatiable thirst for dominance. He began searching for more, seeking ancient artifacts, hidden techniques, and new sources of strength to cement his position as the ultimate force in the universe. His obsession with absolute power consumed him. He destroyed planets, erased civilizations, and spread fear throughout the universe. No one could stand against him except for one. As Frieza's power grew, the ripples of his transformation reached further than he had anticipated. The universe, vast and chaotic, began to tremble under the weight of his newly acquired strength. Planets fell, civilizations crumbled, and stars themselves seemed to flicker as though uncertain of their own existence. Frieza was no longer a mere tyrant. He was a force of nature, a destructive entity whose every step left an imprint on the very fabric of the cosmos. At first, he reveled in his dominance. The thought of having surpassed all limits, of being stronger than any mortal being or scion, thrilled him. But in the back of his mind, there lingered a suspicion, one that would inevitably become reality. The gods of the universe would take notice, and when they did, it would be the beginning of a clash that would shake the foundations of the multiverse itself. Deep within the confines of his palace, Beerus, the god of destruction, sat in quiet contemplation. The universe was his domain, and maintaining its balance was his eternal task. He had watched over the countless cycles of life and death, witnessing the rise and fall of empires, the birth of stars, and the collapse of entire galaxies. The gods had long been aware of the constant fluctuations in the power of mortals, but nothing had truly threatened the order in the way that Frieza's transformation did. Beerus was not one to act hastily. He had witnessed many challengers before: Goku, Vegeta, and countless others, each seeking to surpass their limits and become stronger. However, Frieza was different. This was no ordinary mortal. The sheer intensity of the power emanating from him had already caught the attention of the Supreme Kai and the other deities who served under him. They whispered among themselves, afraid of what might come next. But for Beerus, the matter was personal. He could feel the disruption in the very essence of the universe, a distortion in the cosmic balance. His duty as a god of destruction was not just to destroy when needed, but to maintain the equilibrium between creation and destruction. If Frieza's power went unchecked, the balance would tip, and the consequences could be disastrous for everyone, including the gods themselves. Beerus stood, his golden eyes narrowing with focus. The time had come. Frieza had become a threat not only to the mortals but to the gods and the very order of the universe itself. He could not ignore this. Beerus' first instinct was to call upon his companion, Whis, the angel who served him. Whis, ever the calm and calculating figure, stood by his side, awaiting the god of destruction's command. "You feel it too, don't you?" Beerus asked, his voice laced with both annoyance and curiosity. The power rising from Frieza is not just his usual rage. He's become something else. Whis nodded, his expression as serene as always, but his eyes betraying a rare flicker of concern. Indeed, Lord Beerus, his transformation is unlike anything we've seen before. His power is no longer simply physical strength. It's a distortion of the fundamental forces of the universe. I believe he has surpassed even the bounds of what mortal beings can comprehend. Beerus scoffed lightly, folding his arms as he glanced up at the distant stars. Mortal? He may be mortal in name, but that power is godlike. We can't afford to allow him to roam free any longer. His unchecked ambitions are a danger to us all. Beerus took a deep breath, his posture shifting from his usual laid-back stance to one of full alertness. He had been faced with many challenges before, but this time was different. The potential consequences of underestimating Frieza were too great. The universe had always operated on a delicate balance. The gods maintained order, and mortals like Frieza were supposed to be part of that system, their power remaining limited by their mortality. But Frieza had shattered that boundary. His Black Freeza form was something beyond the scope of any mortal or even some gods. "Whis," Beerus said, his tone becoming more serious, "prepare the transport. We're going to confront him. I won't let this go unchecked." Whis gave a slight bow. "As you wish, Lord Beerus." As Frieza destroyed another planet, turning it into nothing more than cosmic dust with a single swipe of his hand, he felt something, an impending presence. He could sense the shift in the energy of the universe, a change that had been brewing for some time. It was no longer just the Z fighters or Scions who could feel the tremor of his power. The gods were watching, but Frieza was unbothered. In fact, he welcomed it. For years, he had been nothing more than a tool in the hands of others. The tyrant who was always one step behind. Now, he had become the force that defined the universe itself. Let the gods come, he thought. Let them try to stop me. And so the stage was set. The god of destruction, who had watched over the balance of the universe for eons, now had to confront the one being who had thrown that balance into chaos. Beerus wasn't just going to stop Frieza's rampage. He was going to stop the very concept of Frieza's ambition. As the first tremors of their confrontation spread throughout the cosmos, Frieza's mind sharpened. He had faced many powerful beings before, but the gods were on an entirely different level. Beerus was a being whose very existence was tied to destruction itself, a force that could unravel the universe if left unchecked. But Frieza was no longer the same. He had become something far greater than he had ever been. A being whose power challenged even the gods themselves. The universe, it seemed, was about to bear witness to a battle of unimaginable scale. A battle that would not only determine the fate of Frieza but the very balance of existence.